France has reacted swiftly and angrily to the cancellation of a submarine project with Australia. Joining me live now is Liberal Senator James Paterson, who's also chair of the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence and Security. Thanks for your time. The reaction from France recalling its ambassador, calling this act, amongst other things, treason. Has it surprised you the strength of France's reaction?
Tom, the very strong disappointment that France has experienced and is now expressing is completely understandable. It would be a very disappointing thing to lose a $90 billion contract, and I think the truth is there's no nice way to explain to someone that you're not getting the $90 billion contract that you thought you were. However, it shouldn't have come as much as a surprise to the French government as it appears to, given that these issues have been widely and publicly canvassed in the media for many months. And given that the Australian government negotiated in its contract with Naval Group a number of off-ramps that would allow us to exit the agreement if we believed either that the capability was no longer fit for the purpose that we needed it for, or if we were unsatisfied with the progress that Naval Group was making against that contract.
But the leader-to-leader assurance was only in June that everything was back on track here. It's what Scott Morrison told Emmanuel Macron. That this would have to be a surprise after that.
Neither you nor I were at that meeting, and so neither of us can be absolutely certain about what assurances were provided or what discussions took place. But it's my understanding that the government has, at a number of points, expressed concerns to the French government about the Naval Group's performance against the contract.
Are you saying
and
that happened
about
in
our
June?
shifting. And about, I wasn't there, Tom, and nor were you, so I don't know exactly what point, but I understand those concerns have been communicated. It's been, at a number of points, it's been renegotiated. It has been publicly known that we were unsatisfied on some areas, for example, local content requirements. There were real issues. And so no one, I think, should be completely surprised, particularly because we've always reserved the right that if the strategic circumstances have changed, and they have, then we would consider getting an alternative. I mean, it was publicly canvassed in Senate estimates earlier this year that the Defence Minister has publicly talked about having a plan B and a backup. So it has not come completely out of the blue for the French government or anyone else.
This switch, just on the capability element here, the analysis from a lot of people is that it won't actually help us defend the country more, but actually give us more offensive capability, the nature of nuclear-powered submarines. Does that mean a key part is actually making us more useful to the US and the UK, and therefore a more useful ally they'll want to keep in their corner?
Tom, those people suggesting that nuclear submarines will not be more useful in the defence of Australia are simply wrong. One of the key advantages that submarines provide is the ability to keep your adversary at distance and at risk, and to make them think twice about whether or not they should engage with you in.
But that's with any sub, isn't it? That would happen with the other submarines.
But nuclear subs are uniquely capable of doing that because they can spend a longer time at sea, they can spend longer periods of time below the surface, they can travel up to twice as fast, they can carry much more potent and more extensive missiles and other weapons. There is no question that pound for pound they are more effective as a deterrent to any potential adversary than a diesel or diesel electric sub.
Albeit we have 8 versus 12 at the moment anyway. Let me ask you this in a broad sense though, because this is an area you take a lot of interest in, as your position in this committee indicates. Do you think it should be Australia's goal to be able to defend itself, or at least strongly deter an attack from abroad, from a major power, even without the involvement, for example, of the US?
We're going to have a degree of self-reliance. Of course, Australia can never replace the US relationship and the security guarantee that implies, but we have to be able to do more to defend ourselves than we ever previously might have thought we would. And the era in which we completely free ride off the security guarantee provided by the United States, if it ever existed, is long since behind us. And we're going to need to invest much more in our own defence. There's no question, Tom.
Does that mean a big spend on missiles and longer range ones so that, again, any sort of invasion of Australia, even just Australia's arsenal alone, would be a major deterrent?
The short answer to that is yes, Tom. And you might have noted that in the AUSMIN joint statement released by our 2+2 Defence and Foreign Affairs Ministers meetings following the meeting in Washington, DC, that more and higher tech missiles were contemplated. And I think that's a very exciting and very important part of this initiative that's attracted less attention so far. They will add an extra deterrent capability above and beyond what our joint strike fighters are able to provide, what any submarines are able to provide.
Perhaps a costly one as well, but it might be a topic for another day. James Paterson, appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Tom.